Hi guys, this video is going to show you how to sketch a polynomial. I have a mixture of zeros in this polynomial, so it has a 0 that's order 1, one that's order 3, and another one that is also order 2. So it's going to show you what those do and how they react with the x-axis. A couple pieces of information about this polynomial just before we start here. This polynomial, if I take each of the orders on the x's or the exponents on the x's and add them together, this tells me that my polynomial is degree 6. So 1, 3, and 2. That tells me that I have a degree 6 polynomial. Okay, leading coefficient. For your leading coefficient, you're going to take any value that is outside the brackets and multiply it by any coefficient of an x with its exponent. So to get the leading coefficient for this polynomial, we're going to take -2 and multiply it by 1 cubed and 1 squared. In this case, it doesn't really end up mattering because our x's have coefficients of 1. But if they had different coefficients, it would make a big difference. So you just want to make sure that you don't assume that this value outside here is your leading coefficient. Okay? Alternatively, you can also FOIL this entire thing out and see what your leading coefficient and degree are. Okay, those are kind of just quick little tips on how to get that information. Okay, so now that we have the degree and the leading coefficient, we have some information about the end behavior of this polynomial. Okay, degree 6, all even degree polynomials are U-shaped. Okay, so it could be U facing upward, or it could be U-shaped facing downward. Okay, there could be some little like squiggles in between there or whatever, but generally you're going to see that the end behavior is either both facing up or both facing down for any even degree polynomial. Okay, the leading coefficient tells us whether it's facing up or down. Okay, so if we have -2, that tells me that we are going with the second option here, and that would be that we're U-shaped facing down. Okay. Okay, so coming over to my graph here, I'm just going to indicate to myself, just for my sketching purposes, I'm just going to put two little ends facing downward here. Okay, so same end behavior, both facing downward. Same end behavior because it's even, and it's facing downward because the leading coefficient of this, once it's expanded, would be negative. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is identify our zeros. Now this is already in factored form. If you need help factoring a polynomial, we'll have a video about that as well. But if you're starting in factored form, you can pretty easily see your zeros. So our first 0 is here. We're also going to just make a note of the order of those zeros as well. So the order is essentially the exponent that is attributed to that 0. Okay, so our first 0 is 0, 0. And because this x has an exponent 1, we consider this to be order 1. Okay, our second comes from this factor, and it is 3, 0, and it has an order of 3. Okay, and then the last one comes from our last factor, x plus 5. So that means we're going to have -5, 0, and that is order 2. Okay, so I'm just going to go and I'm going to plot these zeros on our graph, 0, 0, 3, 0, and -5, 0. Okay, here we go. I'm also just going to take a look at the end behavior of these, so I'm just making a mental note that this is going to bounce off my -5, 0. My order 3, 0 is going to go through in an S shape, so it'll, depending on where the end is coming from, it'll go like that, or it'll come up not quite like that, like this. And then this one's either going to go straight through this way or straight through this way. So we need to just make sure that we keep a mental note of that as we start sketching. Now, if you're asked to do test values, you can test values in between -5 and 0 to see how high this hill is going to go. You can also test a value in between 0 and 3. 1 or 2 would be fine just to see how high that would go. But we're just going to do a general sketch today, so we don't need that much information. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start heading toward -5, and I'm going to bounce off of that because anything that's ordered 2 kind of like bounces off the x-intercept, almost like a parabola does. So we're going to come toward this, and we're just going to bounce. And then as we come toward 0, 0, we're going to go straight through it. Okay, so we're bouncing, and then we're going to come around and just go straight through. And eventually we know that that's going to have to come back down and go through 3, and that's going to be order 3. So we're just going to come right back down here, and actually that's not great. I'm going to come down and just head through with an S shape. Okay, and we end down here. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, and we end down here. So because my end behavior is done there, I'm just going to show that going downward like so. Okay, you can erase these end behavior lines if you want. Okay, those are just reminders to us. So this is in general what our polynomial should look like. So just making sure that we have the bounce at the -5 because of order 2, order 1 going straight through, and order 3 going through kind of like in an S shape. Okay, almost like a cubic does. Okay, and that is how you would sketch a polynomial.